This is a brief summary of my lineage and how I exist as this last Sanders in the family line from the Colonel's brother. So the year is 1892. Uncle Harley is 2 years old. Colonel Harlan Sanders, 2 years old at that time. His father Wilbur is still alive. His mother Margaret's still alive. They're married. They're together. And my great-great-grandfather Clarence Edward Sanders was born. Fast forward to 1895, the Colonel's father died, which would be my three-great-grandfather Wilbur. He died. And he died from an infection from falling off a ladder working on the farm. He just got infected, he got sick, and died from that. Uncle Harley had to raise Clarence and my Aunt Catherine. Now, we're not going to focus on the Colonel's lineage now, we're going to focus on Clarence. Clarence became a barber. That was his main profession, what he did with his life. He was a barber. Clarence married Bertha Olive Cathcart, and they had 2 children, James Wilbur Sanders and Charles Edward Sanders. James was born in 1917. Charles was born in 1920. Charles had biological children. James did not. James did not carry on the line. Charles had 1 son and 3 daughters. Every one of his daughters has their own family today that exists, and his 1 son is my Grandpa Ed. My Grandpa Ed had 2 children, and those 2 children were my father and my uncle. My father had biological kids, and that's where I exist. My Grandpa Charles Sanders was also a barber. He also worked with a hotel that he owned in Tampa, Florida, and he owned a restaurant in Cadiz, Kentucky. It wasn't Kentucky Fried Chicken, but mainly he was a barber like his father Clarence was. And Charles was also supposed to work at Kentucky Fried Chicken with Uncle Harley, the Colonel. He knew him, and they just didn't work together. They didn't work very well together. Uncle Harley had him come to pick out a place to start a franchise, and my grandfather went to work with Uncle Jim in the Columbus, Indiana franchise, and it just didn't work out. My grandfather went to be a mold maker, engineer, machinist, and Grandpa Charles just continued to be a barber until he died. He loved the fish too. My father was a truck driver, and he had 2 daughters and 1 son, and I'm his 1 son. And that's how I exist. That's the family lineage of Clarence Sanders.